This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face. You with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game. Talk trash all you want. To me, it's all the same. You won't leave with much when you come in second place. I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gon' cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HPT. I'm James Larson, joined by Robert Williamson III. This week, we're at the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. We had 366 entrants, and you know what that means, a prize pool of over $500,000.
And James, not only a prize pool of over $500,000, but 6 figures for first place, $120,000 plus.
9 players remain. We've got a few storylines for you. We have Sean Roberts making his 8th final table. He's trying to capture his 4th HPT championship. Joel Casper, he won an HPT event back in 2006. And how about Timothy Shanks? He won his seat through a $200 qualifier.
That'll make an amazing story, but don't forget Tom Corral's in this group too. He has over $2 million in lifetime earnings on the tour.
A lot of money up for grabs here on the HPT. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and meet the rest of the players, and most importantly, take a look at what we're playing for.
James, today we've got over $500,000 in this prize pool. First place over $120,000, and everybody's guaranteed at least $11,000 plus.
9 players remain in this HPT event. They all want to be our new HPT champion. Chip counts look like this. Timothy with over $4 million up top, right behind him, Joel and Robert. But at the bottom of the list, Ronald's got to make a move here. He's got only 327,000 chips. We're so glad you joined us tonight here on the HPT as we broadcast from the Ameristar Casino Hotel, East Chicago, right here in East Chicago, Indiana. Action will start with Ron, who decided to wear a suit tonight. You don't see that every day at the poker table.
I think somebody once coined a phrase, nothing like a sharp-dressed man.
Ronald looks good, and he's got pocket kings to go along with that suit. So the first hand of the night, he's going to raise it up to $60,000.
Kings will make you look good no matter what you're wearing, James.
Fold it over now to Nick. He folds now over to Sean Roberts. Looks down at 6 deuce. We'll talk more about Sean. What an impressive HPT resume this guy has.
Absolutely incredible.
Tim now looks down at King 10. He's in the small blind. The raise, as you see, was to $60,000 by Ronald.
Looks like he's thinking about defending with the King 10 offsuit.
Just glancing at everybody's paperwork here, there's so much poker experience at this final table.
It really is.
All right, so Tim is going to make the call with his King 10, so we go heads up to the flop. Tim is our chip leader. As we start this final table, Tim is our chip leader. The flop is 10-5 tray, couple of spades. Action will start with Tim, our chip leader in the 4-seat.
And that's a dangerous flop for Tim. He flops top pair and a strong kicker. He doesn't know, though, the whole time. Ron's sitting back with 2 kings and overpair to this board.
Tim checks, action on Ronald. He's 68 years old. He's a tax accountant. He's been playing poker, get this, Robert, for 50 years.
That's half a century last time I looked.
He bets $110,000. And now, boy, it looks like Tim's reaching for raising chips here, Robert.
He sure is, and I can't say that I blame him. It looks like a continuation bet from Ron. I mean, it looks like the trap was sprung here.
He's going to raise to $255,000, and Ron loves every second of this. And now he's all in. And a call by our chip leader. First hand of the night, we're seeing some fireworks, Robert.
We really are, and unfortunately for Tim, he's going to be the victim of this unless he catches himself a 10.
King 10 going up against the kings. As you see, Tim caught a 10 on the flop, but he's behind. 2 cards to go. Turn card now is the deuce of diamonds.
And a 10 and only a 10 can keep Ronald from doubling up.
50 years of poker for Ronald. He doesn't want to go home on the first hand of the night. We go to the river card now, and it's the 8 of spades. So the winner of the hand is Ronald. He's going to double up here on the first hand of the night. He's got his friends Lou and Karen cheering him on today. His plans for the cash, the grandkids' college fund.
Man, I'm going to need adopted again?
Right.
I think this is 2 programs in a row I asked for to be adopted.
We're broadcasting this week from the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Blinds are $12,000, $24,000 with a $3K ante. We give away money here on the HPT. We're doing that tonight. Up top, $120,537. We talked about it at the top of the program. All these players guaranteed just under $12,000. You can do that, Robert, when you've got a prize pool of over $500,000.
Doesn't hurt anybody in the pocketbook, that's for sure. And we've got a big hand here developing, James.
Nick's going to raise to $55,000 with his ace-jack.
Sean Roberts looks down and finds 2 queens. He decides to flat call there. You know, sometimes I like to raise there, trying to eliminate some of the field, but Sean is a really tricky player and a great player at that. I know he has a good reason for just flat calling here.
Robert's going to make the call now. He's got pocket fours, doing a little set hunting himself.
Looks like he's ready to go hunting, doesn't he?
Now over to Ronald. Ronald won the first hand of the night. He's like, I can win 2 in a row. I can win 3 in a row. Come on. All I got to do is put chips in the middle.
He says nothing sweeter than a repeater.
Boy, and you talk about a big hand of brewing. We got ace-jack, we got queens, we got 4s, and now we got 5s.
All in. And now we got some serious looking.
And now we have an all-in by Brian. He's got ace-jack, and he's all in.
Wow, 5-handed start.
Nick gets out of the way. Sean Roberts is all in. Boy, this might be an early night for you and I tonight, Robert.
Yeah, right? I'll have to buy the first round if it ends up that way.
So there were 5 players in the hand. Now 3 of the players folded, so it's heads up. Brian against Sean. Brian's got the ace-jack. Sean's got pocket queens.
And the unfortunate part for Brian is somebody already folded an ace-jack. That takes away some of his outs.
Sean Roberts, this is his 8th final table. Unbelievable success here in the HPT. The flop is 8, 6, deuce, couple of hearts.
No help at all for Brian. He's going to need some runner outs, or at least an ace.
We go to the turn card now. It's the jack of spades.
Well, it does give him a couple more outs, or one more out, I guess, because we have seen one jack. Only an ace or a jack will save Brian, or else he's going to exit this tournament already.
River card is the 6 of diamonds, so that is going to do it. Sean Roberts wins the hand. Brian has been eliminated, going out in 9th place. Nice little payday, though, just under $12,000. We'll have more action right after this quick commercial break. You're watching the HPT.
All right, well, that makes our first elimination. Brian Livingston walking away with just over $11,700. This now leaves us 8-handed. Let's get right back to it.
Up top, you got Timothy and Sean. In the middle, Nick and Ronald. Rounding out the group, Aurelian and Thomas. You look at that stack swing. Timothy kind of going south a little bit the last few hands, Robert.
I'll tell you what, though, look at Ron and Sean Roberts, both of them rising up the chip ladder.
First place, $120,537. You know, we talk about life-changing cash. I mean, come on. That's a lot of money, and that's life-changing cash.
It certainly is. Speaking of a winner of a lot of this life-changing HPT cash, Sean Roberts, right after that last big hand of 2 queens, wakes up with Big Slick.
This is Sean's 8th final table. We talked about that earlier. He's always been in the top 3 all-time cash leader on the HPT. He's hovered around that for the last 3 or 4 years. This guy runs well. He plays well. It's great to see him at another HPT final table. Tim's going to make the call with his King 5.
And that's a deadly combination. When you play well and you run well, it's a deadly combination.
Action over to Ronald now. Ronald's going to fold. Tom folds as well. Action now on Aurelian. I hope I'm saying his name right. I think I am, Robert.
Yeah, well, sometimes he likes to go by Raylu.
Ooh, well, maybe we'll call him Raylu. That's a little easier. So he's going to make the call. Aurelian is from East Peoria, Illinois. He's 41 years old. He's an engineer, originally from Romania.
And here he's playing some small suited connectors. You know, if he does connect with this flop, sometimes those hands can get real tricky. You might win some significant funds.
9-6-4 is the flop. Couple of diamonds. Action will be on Sean.
A little piece for Tim with a big flush draw. Aurelian flopped it open in straight draw, and the original best hand, still the best hand at the moment, Sean, but didn't connect with that board, James.
Sean's going to check. Tim bets 140,000. Aurelian looking like he's going to make this call. And he does just that. Now over to Sean. And Sean folds his hand. You know, you see a lot of people continuation bet there. You see that almost every hand. But Sean Roberts, he just checks and he releases his hand. He doesn't fall in love with that ace-king like so many of us do. 10 of clubs on the turn.
Yeah, especially on coordinated boards, when it's really highly coordinated. 4, 6, 9, 2 diamonds, straight draws. So many hands that either have the best hand already or have a better drawing hand.
Both players check. We go to the river card. Now it's the deuce of hearts.
Well, it does hit Aurelian's hand, but can he get paid off? And Tim's reaching for chips, so it looks like he might be getting paid off.
Tim Shanks is from St. John, Indiana. He's into this thing for $200. What a return on his investment.
You know, I can't say that I blame Tim here. I probably would have fired a bluff myself. He doesn't have much showdown value. King high on that coordinated board doesn't have a lot of showdown value.
And now Aurelian is all in.
Well, let's see if we're going to get a Hollywood from Tim to try to keep him. A lot of times a player will take his time. Well, he doesn't. But a lot of times a player will take their time just to keep another player from acting that same way towards them. Again, keep that aggression back.
So Aurelian wins that hand. You know, I talked about it just a second ago. He's from Romania. Now he lives in East Peoria, Illinois. I couldn't think of two different areas of this world. He goes from Romania to East Peoria, Illinois.
That sounds a little bit of a transition.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, action is folded around to Robert. He looks down at pocket jacks. He's 59 years old from New York City, $370,000 in lifetime earnings, trying to add to that tonight.
Well, he looks like the kind of guy that might be out fishing right now with 2 hooks.
You know, he sure
two
does.
Jacks, 2 hooks.
Oh, I get it. He raises to 60,000 with his pocket jacks. Action now is on Thomas. Ronald gets out of the way. Thomas is going to make the call with his ace-queen of diamonds.
That's one of those judgmental hands. Sometimes I raise with it. Sometimes I flatten that spot.
Joel on the button. One of my favorites, pocket nines.
Yeah, especially with position in this hand, I'd be tempted to re-raise here.
Joel's 35 years old. He's an investment wholesaler. He won this event back in 2006. So you talk about experience about some of these other guys at the table. Well, Joel has won this very event in 2006.
Well, Joel played it much better than I would have, because I would have probably raised here and got myself in some trouble.
He's on the button. He's got a pocket pair. Yeah, exactly. And the flop is 6-5 deuce, couple of spades.
Well, this is problematic for Joel because he still has some overpair to the board, and Robert's got a bigger overpair. This could be trouble for Joel.
140,000.
The bet is 140,000.
Well, this should be a fairly easy fold to Thomas. You know, don't hit a flop. Got to get rid of those hands. Ace queens, ace kings. There's still no pair.
140,000 for Joel to call, and look at this. He's got them all in the middle. This will be an easy call for Robert, and this could be it for Joel.
Yeah, I don't know about the easy part because it was 642,000 to call, but Robert made the call. Great call. And now Joel is in trouble. His tournament life on the line. He's got some runner routes, but otherwise he's going to need one of those 2 existing nines to win this pot and stay alive.
Now, Robert, I'm glad you said that about me, kind of joking that it was an easy call for him. It's obviously easy for me to say that. I can see the whole cards. He's got jacks. He's got nines.
I guess that does make it kind of easy.
The river card, whoa, it was close.
And it was a heart, so it one of the 9 of hearts, but it wasn't. It's the 8 of hearts, and it's good night. Well, not Irene. Good night, Joel.
That's going to do it for Joel. He's going to be eliminated in 9th place, going home with just under $12,000, and I guess the captain got the best of him.
I'll tell you what, Robert, the captain, is cruising on to, well, at least a bigger chip stack.
8 players remain. When we come back, we'll have more exciting final table coverage. Welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson and Robert Williamson III. We broadcast from the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Chip counts look like that. Timothy, Robert, and Sean. But we've got that graphic over to the right coming up here. The stack swing. Kind of some interesting graphics there.
That's right, James. Robert and Raylu are making a move and climbing up the chip ladder.
Timothy, if he wants to hold on to this chip lead, though, he's got to win some hands. Robert, it's great to be back here at the Ameristar East Chicago. This property was opened in 1997. 56,000 square foot casino, more than 1,700 slot machines, and 65 table games. It's a full service hotel with nearly 300 beautiful hotel rooms.
And I'll tell you what, James, great restaurants too. I know that's surprising, shocking for me to talk about food, but they've got great restaurants here.
Yeah, Bugatti's Steak and Pasta was my favorite. We were there every other night on the trip. All right, back to poker. Thomas raises it to 50,000 with the HPT special, the King Queen. And now over to our chip leader, Tim Shanks. Only $200 invested in this main event. If he wins this thing for $125.37, that's going to be a profit of $120,337. That's phenomenal.
I was trying to think of how much of a profit that was as far as percentage. It's so big, it's got so many zeros, I can't even tell you.
Let's just say it's a lot. Tim's going to make the call with his ace-9. A fold by Robert in the 5 seat. So we go heads up, Tim and Thomas, the 2 T's to the flop.
All you have is orange behind that blue or greater. Okay.
And the flop is 5 tray deuce rainbow. That flop hitting neither player, Robert.
Yep, a lot of times the original raiser continuation bets and takes this kind of a pot right on down.
Thomas is from Chicago, Illinois. His parents are in the audience. He's 31 years old. He's a professional poker player with over $2 million in career earnings.
Yeah, I've seen him around the tour for a while. Good player, solid player.
He's going to bet 57,000. This is kind of interesting. Looks like Tim's going to make the call here, Robert.
Yeah, I think I either raise or fold. I kind of pump or dump.
You know, he's got the wheel draw with a 4. Now he hits a heart, the 10 of hearts.
Well, that's a horse of another color. I like Tim's hand now. The only problem is a little confusing is if he leads at this, Thomas might not think he has anything. It kind of feels like a bluff when he check called on the flop.
So Tim is going to make a bet. He's going to bet 82,000.
Oh, he makes a really small bet. I think his bet sizing's off there. I definitely would have bet a little over half the pot. He bet more like a quarter of the pot.
Tom is a local guy, loves the Bears and the Bulls.
And I think that's what Thomas was processing in his brain, too. He might have thought a little too hard on this one, though, because Tim's going to make the call with a straight and a flush draw. And the best hand currently, by the way. As you pointed out, partner.
We forget, he's got the ace. So we go to the river card now. It's no heart, it's no four, it's the queen of spades.
Well, that actually, believe it or not, drastically changes this.
Well, it sure does.
Thomas says top pair.
Right, exactly. Tim's going to check, and Thomas may do the same thing and just flip over the hand and hope that he's going to take down this pot of almost 700,000 chips.
He's got a value bet here.
And he's all in.
Oh, I don't know. That's too big of a bet. I don't think he can get paid off except by a hand that has him beat.
It's an all-in bet by Thomas. Tim's using his fingers there to do some counting.
Call.
And he makes the call, ladies and gentlemen. Thomas flips over his hand.
Tim tries to make a hero call with ace-9, and he was right until the river.
Until the river. He was ahead the entire way until that queen of spades shows up. Thomas wins the hand. A full double up for Thomas, a huge pot for him, and he's in good shape.
Well, considering he only had king high coming into that, that was a river card to remember.
Blinds are 15,000, 30,000 with a 4K ante. It's James Larson and Robert Williamson III broadcasting from the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. I want to give a shout out to one of our great affiliates right here in the Chicagoland area, Comcast Sportsnet Chicago. Our program is on every Sunday night. That's where I watch it back in Iowa. Comcast Sportsnet Chicago. We thank them for all their support.
9 p.m. if I remember correct, because I've watched it with you a few times.
We have. We've watched it right here in Chicago just a few months ago.
We have, at the Ameristar Casino Hotel in Chicago, matter of fact.
All right, Tim's going to raise it to 75,000 with his pocket fives, the Sammy Hagar.
I still have a trouble driving 55.
Well, the speed limit's gone up in certain states.
Oh, that's probably why.
65, 75. Action is on Robert now with ace-king. And we have a 3-bet, 175,000 as expected with ace-king. Action over to Ronald now. Still love that Ronald's wearing the suit and the tie, the cufflinks, the bracelet.
You know, when you play ace-king and you decide to re-raise pre-flop, you have to be committed to the hand. I've decided that I want to see all 5 cards. If I'm going to make that raise, I got to call most re-raises too. That's the only caveat to playing ace-king this strong.
So Tim is going to make the call with his pocket fives. It's Robert and Tim heads up, and we go to the flop. 2 4s and a king. Action to Tim.
I'll tell you what, it hits Robert right where he wants to in this hand because the 2 4s don't figure to fit into his opponent's hand. It's going to be a little confusing for Tim to get away from this, but Robert knows he's ahead. He's got to feel like he's got the best hand right now.
The bet is $150,000, and for Tim, he's just not getting real lucky early on here at this final table, Robert.
Well, he's catching a lot of starting hands, but sometimes that's not always good. Second place pays the same as third and fourth here.
It sure does. Tim's going to make the call. He's going to fish for that set, or for that full house, rather. Close, the 3 of diamonds.
When I meant second place, I didn't mean in the finishing of the tournament in each individual hand. There's only one winner.
So Tim's going to go ahead and lead out. He bets $275,000.
Well, Tim's got an overpair to the 3s and the 4s. Only one card bigger than his. I don't blame him. That's not a bad play. Turns out it's not going to work good for him when he gets this call or raise from Robert.
And Robert makes the call. So a pot of over 1.2 million chips.
Only a 5 can get Tim out of this trap, and it's not one.
It's the 7 of diamonds. Action will start with Tim. He's first, and look at this, Robert. He's reaching for chips.
Yeah, this is what I call the old triple barrel. You keep firing and firing and firing, and the final barrel, it's a sick feeling when you get called.
Wow, and this time $700,000. We'll see if Robert decides to raise. I think he's just going to make the call here.
I agree with you, James. I think Robert's only going to call here because if he raises, he can only get called by a better hand.
So Robert makes the call. We flip over the cards, and Tim's going to see the bad news. Robert wins the hand.
And I'll tell you what, Tim has gotten a little unlucky here at this final table so far, but it's early on, James. And speaking of early on, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back, folks.
Welcome back. We are now 7-handed. Let's get right back to it.
Look at the chip count. Robert up top now. What happened to Timothy?
I'll tell you what, Tim took a real nosedive, but to the benefit of Robert.
So Robert, Sean, and Tim are your chip leaders. The blinds are $15,000, $30,000 with a 4K ante. Up top, $120,537. Second place, not too shabby either, just over $74,000. All the players right now guaranteed $16,769 because that is 7th place money. Action on the man with the suit and the tie. That's Ronald. He's going to fold.
You know, I love it. I see Robert here still stacking his chips from the last hand. I love it when the next hand's going and you're still having it stacked. That means something good's happened to you.
It's a good feeling. It's a good problem to have, Robert.
Good problems to have.
Action on the button. It's Aurelian. Not sure what that hat is he's wearing. It's just kind of a generic hat. It's black with a little blue trim on each side. He's going to raise to $80,000 with his Queen Jack. Nick Papillo, we haven't seen much out of him here tonight, but he's a force to be reckoned with.
I was going to say, I suspect we will. A great player. Unfortunately, I've had to play against him a lot. Tough player.
He's one of those up-and-coming, those young guns. You know, he's only 23 years old. This guy's got a huge poker life in front of him. Sean's going to make the call with his ace-9, so it's Sean and Aurelian. Heads up. And the flop, 2 7s and a tray, couple of clubs.
Well, this is one of those kind of flops where a lot of times the original aggressor takes it down. Let's see who's going to pick up that whip.
Sean checks over to Aurelian, and he's going to bet $80,000 now with his Queen Jack.
I like a continuation bet there, but Sean is a seasoned veteran. He's not going for any C bets.
You know, we talked about this his last final table. He's got these spidey senses. He can read players better than anybody I've ever seen on the HPT.
Well, a lot of times when a face card hits on that turn card, even though you know that the flop was probably a continuation bet, if you don't hit there on the turn, you know that face card probably hit your opponent. Good fold by Sean Roberts. Well played by Ray Lou as well.
Ray Lou's going to take down that pot. We talked about it before. He's an engineer, 41 years old, originally from Romania. Now he's in East Peoria, Illinois. It's very much the same as Romania. I've been to East Peoria a couple of times. I've never been to Romania, though.
Well, I was going to say you have to educate me on both. I don't think I've been to either one.
It's James Larson and Robert Williamson III broadcasting this week from the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Great to be back here. Seen a lot of big names. We saw Greg Raymer play this event. Great Casino. Aaron Massey. Alan Kessler.
Hey, the Chainsaw finished 15th place. Matter of fact, just barely missing this final table. Shout out to you, Alan Kessler.
Action over to Tim now. He's in the small blind, looks down at 5-4 of hearts. Tim's had a few hands. He's picked a few positions to play those hands. Second and third place for him, which you never want to see at the poker table.
It's just like a horse race, you know. All the money is in winning. There's no show in place at this table.
Tim's going to make the call. Now to the big blind we go, and Robert will see if he defends. It's looking like he's going to do that. He's reaching for chips. He's going to make the call with the HPT special, the King-Queen.
Surely is. Is there more kings and queens in the deck than anything else? I mean, I'm starting to wonder, James.
We see a lot of people play the King-Queen. The flop is A7 tray.
And a great flop for Thomas. He flops top 2 pair, but don't forget, Tim has a double gut shot draw. A deuce or a 6 gives him a straight.
You know, Tim's had a little bit of bad luck tonight. Maybe this hand will turn everything around. 6 of clubs
Speak
comes
of
on
the
the
devil.
turn.
Well, not because it's a 6.
Right, yeah.
Wrong reference there, James.
70.
So Tim hits the 6 of clubs to complete his straight, and he's going to bet 70,000.
Well, this could be very expensive to Tom by checking that flop, but I think he was probably going to lose this pot regardless. You know, of course, unless he gets an ace or a 7. But I think he was going to have some damage regardless, but he might have even more with this turn card.
So the King-Queen gets out of the way. Thomas is going to make the call.
Wow, he just calls. Great. Only call. I don't think I could have done that. I think I'd have had to have raised.
And the river card now is the 9 of spades. So this will be interesting here on the end. Now Tim's going to check.
Oh, sneaky, sneaky. Wow. Give him some rope. Let him hang himself. And Tom's probably going to have to go for this. I mean,
I'm thinking of a
all
value
in,
bet.
he
It's
says.
all in and a snap call by Tim. All in and a snap. And that is going to do it for Thomas Coral. He's been eliminated. He's going to go out in 7th place with just under $17,000.
I don't think I fault Tom at all for the way he played the hand. Some days chicken, some days feather. Today wasn't Tom's day.
It's never a good feeling when you say the words all in, and before you can finish the in, your opponent says call and tables his hand.
You're right about that.
And it's a straight.
That's a sick feeling inside.
All right, Tom Coral leaving us with $16,769. Not bad.
Yeah, not too bad. A little disappointing, but you always got to play for the win in these things, so that's how it goes.
Congratulations for making it to the final table. We'll be right back after this commercial break to finish final table action.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson, joined by professional poker player Robert Williamson III. This week, we're at the Ameristar Casino Hotel, East Chicago, and somebody's going to go home pretty happy with a 6-figure payday.
I'll tell you what, over $120,000 for first place, over $500,000 the prize pool. Oh my gosh, I can't hardly stand the excitement.
We had 366 entries, and now we're down to our final 7. Let's get back to the action. Looking at the chip counts, Robert's up top.
He sure is. I'll tell you what, Tim, Ronald, and Sean rounding it out. But the big movers and shakers this time around, Tim and Ron, those are the ones that rised up to the top and to the challenge.
Now you see Nick Papillo there on the bottom of the list, but this guy, he's a superstar. He's 23 years old. It's his second HPT final table. He's won several tournaments outside the HPT, and he's not somebody you want to give a whole lot of chips to. You know that. You've played against him.
Like I said earlier, I've had the unfortunate experience of having to play against him, only to the fact that he's a great player. Nice kid, smart, sharp as a whip, but a great player.
And you talk about a kid with just a bright poker future. He's only 23 years old.
To do over again. James, it was like yesterday. It feels like I was 23.
It actually kind of does. Nick's going to raise it to $65,000 with his queen jack. Good to see him in a hand. And now Aurelian is going to make the call with his jack 8.
Well, I think this is just a classic defend situation. It was only $35,000 more. Yeah, a little looser than I'd like, but still not a bad call.
Uh-oh, this flop could be a little interesting here. Jack 10-7, so both players hitting their jack.
And Nick with the better kicker.
So the good news for Ray Lou, he's got the gutter ball straight draw as well.
And I think that's about the only good news right now for Ray Lou because he's behind.
Nick's going to bet $155,000. What Ray Lou's thinking here? Maybe a raise? Yeah, he did just that. He's raising it to $350,000.
Well, it's not an easy call for Nick, but
Hold on.
well, he's not going to call at
all
all.
in.
He's shoving.
Nick's all in, and Aurelian makes the call. So we're going to flip over the cards, and Nick's going to see he's currently in the lead. So a huge pot, almost 1.3 million chips. We go to the turn card, it's the 5 of spades.
And Nick is only one card away from a great double up that he really needs and deserves. But an 8 or a 9, and he's out.
We go to the river card, it's the king of spades. So the winner of the hand is Nick Papilio, and we just talked about this. Not a guy you want to give more chips to. I know Sean Roberts is thinking the same thing right now.
Yes.
Why did you have to give more chips to Nick?
Well, the only thing Sean Roberts says is, look, at least I've got position on the kid.
You know, we've really got to thank all of our players. This has been a fantastic year for us. We've given out millions of dollars here on the HPT, but we couldn't do it without our loyal players. So thank you to everybody that's a part of the HPT family. Action on Sean Roberts doesn't show a lot of emotion at the final table as he raises up to 90K. You always get the same look, always the same face from Sean Reggie Roberts.
Consistently good at everything he does.
I'm the opposite. I talk too much at the table, you know, and then I get a good hand. I don't say a word. My tells are worn on me like signs.
You say that. I think I made a real bad call against you just last night, James.
We did play a little cash game last night.
I thought your last name wasn't Larson. It was larceny.
Yeah, it was fun. That's all I'll say. Heads up to the flop. It's 10-6 tray, rainbow. Action will start with Sean Roberts.
Well, Sean did catch a piece of this flop. Unfortunate for him, Tim caught a bigger piece with top pair.
Sean's going to bet 90,000. And now Tim, he was our chip leader to start the day, but things, if you're joining us late here in the program, haven't gone very well for him at this final table. He's going to make this call of 90,000.
Well, he did bust out one player there last time we saw him involved in a pot, so he's gotten back some of those chips.
And the turn card is the 4 of hearts.
No help for either player. The shot might slow down a little bit here. Looks like a pretty disjointed flop for Tim to just straight bluffing on air.
Sean Roberts, this is his 8th final table. He's got 3 titles, trying to make it 4 tonight.
Well, I guess Sean doesn't want to get run over. Sometimes you kind of bow up and, you know, just don't want players to run over you. But unfortunately, Tim's not bluffing. He has the best hand.
Tim bets 130,000 and a call. The river card now is the Jack of Diamonds.
That looks to be a dead card and actually saves Sean Roberts some money. It slowed Tim down, but Tim's still going to take down a nice juicy pot.
It goes check, check. Tim is the winner of the hand. What a success story. Just $200 invested in this HPT main event. If he wins it tonight, he'll go home with $120,537. It's time to take a quick commercial break, but before we do that, we want to talk to you about Card Player Cruises. We had the trip of a lifetime. It was warm. We played poker, the drinks were fruity, and we had an absolute blast.
Earlier this year, HPT teamed up with Card Player Cruises to set sail on the high seas for a week of fun in the Western Caribbean. We began by boarding one of the largest ships in the world, Oasis of the Seas. We spent the week enjoying Caribbean drinks, good music, and exquisite food with hundreds of our closest friends. During the 7-day voyage, we made stops at several exotic tropical ports in places like the Bahamas, St. Martin, and the Virgin Islands. There is never a dull moment with Card Player Cruises. This ship was jam-packed with entertainment options, a zip line, a miniature golf course, 5 swimming pools, almost 30 different bars. The list goes on. And of course, with the HPT on board, there's plenty of poker. Daily cash games and nightly tournaments are all part of the experience. Join us this February for the next HPT cruise. You won't regret it. www.cardplayercruises.com.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson and Robert Williamson III. We're broadcasting from the Ameristar Casino Hotel, East Chicago. 366 players at this event. A prize pool of over $500,000.
Not only over $500,000 in the prize pool, $120,000 plus for the first place champion tonight.
Somebody's going to go home really, really happy. We started with 9 tonight, and now we are down to your final 6. Up top, Robert and Timothy, but right behind them, Ronald and Nick. It's really anybody's game. We say that each and every week because it's the HPT. It's a great structure, and they've got a chip and they've got a chair. All of these players at the final table.
Sure do. I'll tell you what, look out for Nick. Nick's made a big comeback. As you can see, just increased his stack by $600,000 plus.
For the second time tonight, the best dressed man at the table wakes up with pocket kings.
Well, sometimes if you dress right, you get positive feeling and vibes, and you get good cards with it, I guess.
Now, Ronald here is a tax accountant, so he probably dresses like this 5
Every
or
day.
6 days a week. He's
Right.
a tax accountant. He could probably give me some advice. We should catch up with Ron after tonight's final table. He's going to raise to 90,000 with his pocket kings, and Ray Lou's starting to get a little funny here.
Frisky, I
a little
think is the
frisky.
word.
A re-raise to 200,000. It's coming.
Oh,
You know
no.
what it is.
Oh, no.
The buzzsaw is about to rear its ugly head. This is the definition of buzzsaw, right here. Run the queens right into the kings.
Oh, and looky there. Tim folds a queen, too. That puts Ray Lou further behind the 8-ball.
So Ronald loves this. He's going to eyeball Ray Lou's stack, and he's going to say, I'll put you all in. I can guarantee it, Robert.
I got a feeling you're going to be a great prognosticator.
I'm all in, he says, the man with the suit and the tie. Easy call for Ray Lou. He doesn't realize the buzzsaw is about to come out to the middle of the table. Kings versus queens. Ray Lou's not happy.
All right.
What do you do?
Shows pocket
You know what you do? Come back another day.
Kings versus queens. We still have a flop, turn, and river, so let's not give up yet. 9, 7, 6.
I bet if you asked Ray Lou right now, would a tie be okay with you if it had come to the 8 and a 10? He would say, yes, please.
I think he'd give 100,000 chips to be able to do that.
Oh, wow, that's it, though. The king, that seals the deal. And Ray Lou is heading back to East Peoria. Or is that Romania?
Romania via East Peoria, or maybe it's the other way around, but not for nothing. Ray Lou's going to take $20,176 with him as he travels back to East Peoria. All right, Robert, we're seeing a lot of fireworks here at the final table. Kings versus queens. We're seeing a lot of raising. We're seeing a lot of check raising, a lot of folding. It's poker, man. It's the HPT, and it's awesome.
It's great poker, too.
Up top tonight, $120,537. It's always great to get that first six-figure score, isn't it? 6 figures. It's just something with that number, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a sweet number. It really is. Got just enough zeros in it. Well, I mean, you
enough.
always want 7, but, can't be too greedy.
All right, so to catch you up here, Sean raises to 75,000 with his A6. Tim is going to make the call. He's on the button. Now action on Ronald, who's in the big blind. He's going to make the call, and Ronald's going to be a force to be reckoned with here. The tax accountant's got quite a few chips in front of him. And the flop is Jack 10-5, couple of clubs. We'll start with Ronald.
Well, Ron flopped an opening straight draw. Nobody else really flopped much. I guess Tim could represent the flush draw because he does have the ace of clubs high and dry and bottom pair.
Ronald's been playing poker for 50 years. That's right. I don't meet a lot of people that have been playing poker for 50 years.
That's longer than I've been alive. How could I have possibly played that many years?
The bet's 90,000. The original raiser, Sean Roberts, gets out of the way. And now Tim's going to make the call. So heads up, Ronald and Tim.
Let's see the turn, please.
The turn card is the 6 of diamonds.
A little something for everyone, even though it doesn't help either hand. It looks like it might fit in this board.
You know, Ronald's impressing me here at this final table.
I'll tell you what, he has played very well. He's ran pretty lucky as well, but he's played him. It's one thing, you run good, but you also got to play good to win these kind of things.
He's going to bet 120,000. Tim sizing up the situation. Tim's just 24 years old.
Well, this is what I'd call almost a turn hero call because he's got bottom pair here.
And, you know, Tim's on the ultimate free roll. He got into this thing on a $200 qualifier. It's house money right now, Robert. It's been house money since yesterday at about 4 o'clock in the middle of day 2. River card now is the deuce of hearts.
And a blank. Does Ron have the courage to triple barrel fire here again? I don't know if I would. I think I might have to check.
It's so hard to do it. Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Well, the other problem is, James, with 2 flush draws out there and lots of broken straights, there's a lot of bluffing hands that somebody like Ronald with the Queen 9 might make a move on, and Tim might just pay this off and might end up showing down the best hand because he does have the best hand.
But he's got to bet enough. That's key. So Ronald's going to bet 180,000. I would have liked him to bet a little bit more there, Robert.
Not only that, I mean, into a 680,000 chip pot, surely it's not going to be enough to... Wow, Tim folded before I could even say it.
Yeah, so Tim's going to fold. Ronald is going to be the winner of the hand. And the 59-year-old tax accountant's got a little bit of a smile on his face. It's not a real big smile, but he's got a whole lot of chips, my friend.
Well, it takes a lot of heart to fire that third barrel, James.
Welcome back to the Ameristar Casino Hotel here in East Chicago for the HPT main event final table. Let's get right back to the action. We are now five-handed.
Up top is Robert. He's our chip leader. Right behind him, though, Ronald, Timothy, and Nick and Sean rounding out the group. Sean Roberts isn't used to being at the bottom of the heap, but never count him out, my friend.
No, we won't. I'll tell you what, the big mover and shaker that round was Ron. He increased his stack size by over 1 million chips.
And this is Ron's first ever time playing the HPT. He's 68 years old. We've talked about this all night. He's a tax accountant. His plans for the cash, no matter where he finishes, the grandkids' college fund. So once again, you're looking to be adopted, I know.
It's going to be a little Orphan Robert. Orphan Annie, Orphan Robert, you know.
Ronald, our chip leader, is going to raise to $80,000 with his King 10 of diamonds. So, Robert, tell me, for Ronald, how important is it for him to keep these chips, and how does he do it with 5 players remaining?
I'll tell you what, honestly, he's got to pick and choose his spots carefully. The hand values increase drastically when you're down to just 5 players. King 10 is a very playable hand. In a ring game, not such a great hand. 5-handed, not a bad hand at all.
And all these guys are gunning for him. Look at this flop, a queen and 2 jacks and a couple of diamonds.
An open-end straight draw for Tim, but more importantly, a royal flush draw for Ronald.
Boy, the deck is hitting Ronald square in the face. Kings and kings again, and now he might make a royal.
Well, there is a pair on the board, so proceed with caution. It would be my advice, because sometimes you run into full houses, you make your straight, or you just make a plain flush and not a royal flush or straight flush, and you're behind the 8 ball again.
140,000, and Tim makes the call. We go to the turn card. It's the 4 of clubs.
Well, I think we might see some continued aggression from Ron, and I wouldn't blame him.
Now, Tim is going to make a bet. He's going to bet $200,000.
Definitely going to see a call. Just a matter of will we see a raise from Ron.
I like the jacket. I like the tie, but it looks like it might be uncomfortable to play poker with a suit and a tie on.
Well, usually if you see me with a suit and a tie, somebody's either died or getting married.
Well, Ronald makes the call. The river card, no diamond. It's the 8 of clubs.
But it does fit right into Tim's hand. Gives him the nut straight. And Ronald blanks, so he'll probably get out with minimal damage here.
Tim's going to make a value bet here of $450,000. Decent sized pot now, Robbie.
I like the bet sizing there. About half pot and get called by a lot of hands.
Ronald's going to fold. The winner of the hand is Timothy Shanks. He started off as our chip leader today, and he's trying to get back to where he started. All right, blinds are 20,000, 40,000 with a 5K ante. We're so glad you joined us tonight here on the HPT. Once again, find an event that will work for you, and maybe you'll be one of these players playing for the Unreal Cash. Check out the webpage at hptpoker.com.
And come see James and me. We go to a lot of these events.
We're usually hanging out in one of the restaurants or one of the taverns, or both, or every other.
I hang out at the poker table too. Come on now.
That's true. That's true. I'm not good enough to sit with you guys at the big boys table. Action over to Sean Roberts with the HPT special, the King Queen. Raises it up to 80,000. Now over to Timothy. And Tim is going to make the call on the button.
Tim likes to mix it up, plays a lot of hands, but notice here he's got the button. That's a pretty good reason to always want to play that position.
Small and big blind get out of the way, so it's heads up. Sean and Tim, we go to the flop. King, Queen up against 8-7. And the flop, once again, 2 jacks and a 10.
Well, this time, Sean Roberts flops the opening straight draw. Tim with the gutter ball, but undercards to the board. I don't like playing undercards to the board because if you catch a pair, you never know if it's good.
80,000 is the bet by Sean. 80,000.
Sean Roberts is going to bet 80,000, his 8th HPT final table. That's not a typo. 8 times he sat down at this nationally televised final table. He's won 3 of them. Turn card now is the 8 of diamonds, so that hits Tim's hand.
It sure does, but you still don't know where you're at. But good card for Tim's hand all the same.
And the bet is $135,000. And Sean is going to quickly make this call,
I
Robert.
don't blame him with overcards to the board and an open straight draw. I like this call by Sean Roberts.
And we go to the river card. It's the ace of clubs.
Well, I especially like it now when that card comes. Now I should see a good-sized value bet from Sean, but he can't bet too much because ace is a scare card, too.
Sean makes his Broadway. He's all in, and Tim just kind of looks up in the air and goes, man, I had him. I know I had him.
And Tim was right. He did have him, but you know what? He doesn't have him anymore.
Robert, I really don't think Tim can make this call.
Well, this is what we talked about earlier. Sometimes you just take your time to fold because you don't want this player being aggressive to you again. But I think the whole time there, once that river card came, Tim was planning to fold.
Tim's going to fold, and Sean's going to win the pot, and a pretty nice-sized pot at that, Robbie.
Over $1 million in chips, and maybe this will get Sean Roberts back on track.
All right, well, that's all the time we have on tonight's episode. You're definitely going to want to tune in next week to see who wins the title and just over $120,000. Before we go, I want to remind you to check out our webpage at www.hptpoker.com. Find an event that will work for you, and who knows, maybe you'll be playing for the life-changing cash. For Dana Workman, he's Robert Williamson III. I'm James Larson, and we'll see you next time on the HPT.